today I want to talk to you about non-verbal stories, or what our faces say that our words don't. Now this is Dr. Paul Ekman. I'm looking around to see some recognition, and I'm frankly disappointed I'm not seeing it. He's been given the title as one of the top 100 most influential people in the world in 2009 in Time magazine. He's also been accredited with being one of the most influential psychologists of the 20th century by the American Psychological Association. Yet, most of you don't know who he is. He has another title: the best human lie detector in the world. What I want to talk to you about today is whether we should all be trying to acquire the skills that he has and how they could benefit us in society. So I think we all need to be on the same page about lying. Well, Ekman's description is a liar is someone who deliberately tries to mislead the target. This could mean that they could accidentally end up telling the truth, but their aim throughout their entire storytelling is to be misleading. Another feature of a lie is that lying is a conscious, considered choice. A liar can always choose not to lie. By this definition, acting isn't lying because we know they are putting forward a deception and we accept it, we buy into it. Whereas an imposter is lying because we don't know that they're deceiving us. So how can we detect lies? Well, one method is the scientific content analysis, or SCAN method, quite conveniently acronymed. This involves analyzing the verbal language of written articles and is commonly used in police statements. So it looks at things like pronouns. An absence or change of them throughout the story can be a sign of deception. Emotion concentration, in that there's high emotive language at the peak of the story, but towards the beginning and the end, there's an absence of it. Also, time focuses, so lots and lots of detail before the main event or issue and during, but after that it kind of trails off and is very scarce. That can be another sign of deception. Finally, inconsistent language use, so that lovely gentleman becomes that guy later on. These can all be signs of deception. But that's not really what I'm here to talk to you about today. I'm here to talk to you about today the non-verbal signs. So our faces, our body language. Now the leading field in this is micro-expressions. Micro-expressions can be defined as brief, involuntary facial expressions shown on the faces of humans according to the emotions experienced. They occur in high-stakes situations where someone has something to win or lose. They're very brief in duration and can last between 1/25th to 1/15th of a second only. Now, they in itself do not explain deception and show deception. There is no gesture, facial expression, or muscle twitch that can in itself show deception. All micro-expressions can do is show signs of poor preparation and that the emotions don't fit with what the person's saying. So, for example, I walked into the room and he was just standing there. I was so scared, I didn't know. However, if throughout that entire extract I was showing signs of contempt or anger, that would be a clue that there was something not quite right. Now, so if we all know what micro-expressions are, well, how hard can they be to see? I mean, they're very short-lived, but surely we should all be able to see them. Well, I'm going to put that to the test. I want to see if you guys can see micro-expressions. So, this is a test developed by Paul Ekman online in which we can see micro-expressions and then see if we can match up the emotions that they're experiencing. I am going to need audience participation, so I do hope you're willing to shout out what you think it is, because otherwise it's just going to be me getting the answers wrong, because I am, of course, atrocious at this. Did you see it? Can we have number 1 again, please? There we go. What do we think? Any answers? They're that quick. Disgust. Okay, can we see if it's disgust, please, Miss Barnsley? Just by clicking on disgust, yes. Nope. Incorrect. I'm going to go with, can you click on contempt and see if it's that one? Nope. What about anger? There we go. We got it. You see how difficult it is? Let's try again. Can we have number 2, please, Miss Barnsley? It is really that quick, and that looked quite aggressive. Disgust. Can we have disgust, please? Well done. We seem to have some talent in the room. Number 3, please. Any guesses? Happy. Happiness. Just at the end there. Yep. We're doing quite well. Number 4, please. What was that? People who are saying contempt, I can tell you now, you are correct. This is one that I am an expert in. Contempt, please. Contempt. There we go. Yeah. So you get the picture. They're quite easy to spot once you still the frame, but in general conversation, how can you see them? Well, one reason is that evolution hasn't caught up with us yet. We live in a society that encourages rather than discourages lying. But evolution hasn't prepared us to be sensitive to the behavioral clues necessary to detecting deception. Another explanation is that our parents teach us not to identify their lies, to conceal activities or actions that may be considered inappropriate for small children. Another is that, well, as humans, we look to trust one another and see trust as an enriching element of life, despite its possible costs. It'd be very unfortunate if we were to go around making false accusations to our friends, family, colleagues. It would make our everyday data life very difficult. Therefore, we choose to trust to make our own lives easier. Finally, one explanation is that there are simply too many misconceptions floating around. I bet a few of them are in this room. It's most commonly assumed that gaze aversion is a sign of lying, when actually this isn't always the case. Yes, there are circumstances where it is, but it's more traditional that constant eye contact that seems slightly unnatural is a sign of lying. This is because the person is having to look at your face to analyze if you've bought the lie, or if they need to carry on going and continue elaborating and spinning their story. If they were to look away, it's much more difficult to gauge whether you guys are interested in anything I'm saying. And therefore, you have to rely entirely on the analysis of the voice, which is much more difficult. So, is anyone good at detecting lying in the natural circumstances that it happens? Well, unsurprisingly, maybe, United Secret Service professionals were highly accurate on the emotional lie, where none of the test groups scored at or below chance, and a third were 80% accurate or above. Now here's a slightly more, maybe something you haven't thought about yet, of a group of people that could be good at this. Prison inmates. Now this is what I find really interesting. There have been signs that they've shown significantly better than chance in detecting deception. And the explanation for this is because of their own interviews being interviewed by the police and the feedback as to whether they got caught or not. I think that's fascinating that they're using the police as a method to get better at lying. Well, there's also another group of people. Now, Dr. Ekman and his partner, O'Sullivan, they called these people naturals, and they set out to do a project. I'm very jealous I wasn't involved because it's called the Wizard Project, and that's really the coolest name a project has ever had, in my opinion. They set out to test and to find if people were naturally good at detecting these micro-expressions in everyday situations. Now, these people that were called truth wizards. You see how upset I am that I'm not a truth wizard? How cool would it be able to say, no, I'm a truth wizard, don't worry about it? Well, how many truth wizards are there? They tested over 20,000 people and found that there was only 50 people. It's that rare. And it comes from living in a situation where you've had to adapt to being able to detect these micro-expressions. One example is living in an abusive household as a child. You have to learn when you've pushed the boat too far and when you need to hide. It's a sad situation, but that's the environment that they've grown up in, and that's how evolution has taught them to survive. So how can it be helpful to us? What happens if we were to start identifying these micro-expressions? Well, there's a certain group of people, I wonder if you can guess, who it could be very helpful if we could understand if they were lying. They sometimes go by the name of professional liars. They have an entire institution built for them. They have regular elections every 4 years. Yes, politicians. So, as with everything, micro-expressions have its critics. There are certain people that believe, A, that they don't exist at all, and B, that if they do exist, that they are no reliable source of detecting deception. And really, who knows? In 10 years' time, there could be new evidence that contradicts everything I've said here today. But for now, it's a really interesting concept, and I think more people need to be aware of it. So, just to finish up, where can you go from here? While I'll thoroughly recommend checking out Dr. Ekman's website, it makes for fascinating reading, and it's very easy to understand, even if you don't have any scientific knowledge. Or Lie to Me. Watch Lie to Me. It's amazing. Thank you very much for listening.